This article is about the history of Iran after the 1979 revolution. For a history of Iran before 1979, see History of Iran. One of the most dramatic changes in government in Iran's history was seen with the 1979 Iranian Revolution, where Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was overthrown and replaced by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Autocratic monarchy was replaced by an Islamic republic based on the principle of rule by Islamic jurists, where clerics serve as head of state and in many powerful governmental roles. A pro-Western, pro-American foreign policy was exchanged for one of neither East nor West, said to rest on the three pillars of mandatory veil for women, and opposition to the United States and Israel. A rapidly modernizing, capitalist economy was replaced by populist and Islamic economic and cultural policies. The leader of the revolution and founder of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, was Iran's supreme leader until his death in 1989. He was followed by Ali Khamenei. General trends. During the era of the Islamic Republic, Iran has grown from 39 million to 70 million people. Some things remain much as they were under the monarchy. Iran has retained its status as a major regional power. It is far larger than any of its Gulf neighbors, and possesses large reserves of gas and oil. Its national cohesion, brought by a long history as a nation, strong central state government and its oil export revenues have brought it respectable levels of income, literacy, college enrollment, infant mortality, and infrastructure. Modern trends found under the monarchy, such as urbanization, growing enrollment in higher education and literacy, continued. Politics and government. The Islamic Republic of Iran is an Islamic theocracy headed by a supreme leader. Its constitution was approved in 1979 and amended in 1989. Jafari school of thought is the official religion. It has an elected president and elected governmental bodies at the national, provincial and local levels, for which all males and females from the age of 18 on up may vote, which are supervised by theocratic bodies, particularly the Council of Guardians, which had veto power over who can run for parliament and whether its bills can become law. Nonetheless, the elected organs have more power than equivalent ones in the Shah's government. Foreign affairs. Following the 1979 revolution in Iran, the Islamic revolutionary regime of Ayatollah Khomeini dramatically reversed the pro-Western foreign policy of the regime it overthrew. Since then, Iran has oscillated between the two opposing tendencies of revolutionary ardor and moves towards pragmatism. Khomeini's 1989 fatwa calling for the killing of British citizen Salman Rushdie for his allegedly blasphemous book, The Satanic Verses, demonstrated the willingness of the Islamic revolutionaries to sacrifice trade and other ties with Western countries to threaten an individual citizen of a foreign country living thousands of miles away. On the other hand, Khomeini's death in 1989 led more pragmatic policies, with Presidents Hashemi Rafsanjani and Mohammad Khatami leading the charge for more stable relations with the West as well as its surrounding, non-revolutionary Islamic neighbors, i.e., Saudi Arabia. Following the 2005 election of President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Iran has returned to more and more hardline stance, frequently antagonizing the West and its neighbors while battling for control over the region. In the immediate aftermath of the revolution, the Islamic Republic went to war against Saddam Hussein's Iraq after the latter launched a military offensive in the 1980s. With most foreign aid going to Iraq, Iran was forced to accept a ceasefire by 1988. Tensions with Iraq remained long after the war. It was not until the death of Saddam himself that Iran and Iraq have started improving their relations. The Islamic Republic founded and sponsored the Lebanese group known as Hezbollah. Its leaders were followers of Khomeini. The creation of Hezbollah, and its funding from Iran, was in response to the Israeli occupation of Lebanon. Since then, Hezbollah has served as both an ally and a surrogate for Iran during its conflict with America and Israel. Author Olivier Roy describes the Islamic republics as having lost most of its allure among non-Iranian Shias, giving as examples the 1995 house arrest in of the two sons of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi, spiritual leader of the Bahraini Shia, and the close cooperation between the Afghan Shia party Wahdat and the U.S. Army after November 2001. The Islamic Republic strongly supports the Palestinian cause. Government aid goes to everything from Palestinian hospitals to arms supplies. There is vigorous media publicity, an official Quds Day, and squares and streets named after Palestine crisscross Iranian cities. Some question whether the issue has domestic grassroots support, arguing that Iranians lack emotional and cultural ties to Palestinians, or has been too costly in terms of opportunity costs compared to peaceful coexistence. In addition to its support for terrorist organizations, in the 35 years of its existence, the Islamic Republic has indoctrinated generations of its citizens with anti-Semitic, anti-Israel and anti-Western propaganda through state-controlled media. Human development. Despite stagnation in the economy, Iran's Human Development Index rating improved significantly in the years after the revolution, climbing from 0.569 in 1980 to 0.759 in 2007. It now ranks 94th out of 177 countries with data. This is approximately the same rate as neighbor Turkey, which has a somewhat higher HDI rating. One factor in the HDI rise has been literacy rates among Iranian women, which rose from 28% to 80% between 1976 and 1996, although the Shah's regime had created a popular and successful literacy corps and also worked to raise literacy rates. The Islamic Republic based its educational reforms on Islamic principles. The Literacy Movement Organization replaced the Literacy Corps following the revolution and is credited with much of Iran's continued success in reducing illiteracy from 52.5% in 1976 to just 24% at the last count in 2002. The movement has established over 2,000 community learning centers across the country, employed some 55,000 instructors, distributed 300 easy-to-read books and manuals, and provided literacy classes to 1 million people, men as well as women. The increase in literacy meant that for the first time in history most of the population, including Azeris, Kurds, Gilakas, and Moazzandaranis, could converse and read in Persian. In the field of health, maternal and the infant mortality rates have been cut significantly. Infant mortality per 1,000 dropped from 104 to 25. In particular, conditions improved in the countryside. The reconstruction jihad extended roads, electricity, piped water, and most important of all, health clinics into villages, turning peasants into farmers. Soon most farmers had access not only to roads, schools, but also radios, refrigerators, telephones, televisions, motorbikes, even pickup trucks. On the eve of the revolution, life expectancy at birth had been less than 56. By the end of the century, it was near 70. Economy under the Islamic Republic. Iran's economy has been dominated by oil and gas exports, which constituted 70% of government revenue and 80% of export earnings as of 2008. It has a large public sector, with an estimated 60% of the economy directly controlled and centrally planned by the state. A unique feature of Iran's economy is the large size of the religious foundations, or banyads, whose combined budgets are said to make up as much as half that of the central government. Economic problems include the shattering of the Iranian oil sector and consequent loss of output from the revolution and Iran-Iraq war, a soaring population over the same period, inefficiency in the state sector, dependence on petroleum exports, and corruption. The Constitution of the Islamic Republic calls for the state sector to include all large-scale and mother industries, foreign trade, natural resources and communication, and calls on the private sector to supplement the state and cooperative sectors. The International Monetary Fund reports that Iran's gross national income per capita more than doubled since the revolution despite strong population growth. 1 year after the revolution it was $4,295 and grew to $11,396 by 2010. However, complaining about the economy is said to have become a national pastime among the Iranians. According to international economic consultant Jahangir Amuzagar, as of 2003, despite a 100% rise in average annual oil income since the revolution, most indicators of economic welfare have steadily deteriorated. Average inflation in the years after the revolution has been at least twice as high as during the 1970s, unemployment has been 3 times higher, and economic growth is 2/3 lower. As a result, Iran's per capita income has declined by at least 30% since 1979. By official admission, more than 15% of the population now lives below the absolute poverty line, and private estimates run as high as 40%. Per capita income declines when the price of oil declines to 1/4 of what it was prior to the revolution. Accumulated assets of the Iranian middle class, carpets, gold, apartments, that were acquired in the 4-year boom after the 1973 oil price rise and served to cushion the fall in standards of living, have now reportedly largely been sold off. The poor have also exhibited dissatisfaction. Absolute poverty rose by nearly 45% during the first 6 years of the Islamic Revolution, and on several occasions the Mustazafin have rioted, protesting the demolition of their shanty towns and rising food prices. Disabled war veterans have demonstrated against mismanagement of the foundation of the disinherited. Hardship has compelled some children to take odd jobs rather than go to school. Of this total, 28% wanted fundamental changes, 66% gradual reforms, 10% expressed satisfaction with the status quo. According to British Iranian scholar Ali M. Ansari, Iranians joke that with the world's second or third largest reserves of oil and natural gas, extensive deposits of copper, gold, uranium, as well as an educated and cohesive workforce, they are blessed with all the facilities to be the industrial engine of the region. Except good governance, corruption is a problem in the Islamic Republic. According to some observers, its level compares unfavorably with pre-revolutionary days. Foreign journalist Robin Wright quotes Abizari as saying, "The clergy tries to keep itself clean. But you can't do anything anymore without paying off this mullah's son or that mullah's brother-in-law, and these days usually both bribery in Iran was increasingly becoming the biggest part of a business deals, and a lot of other transactions too. Iranians called it oiling the moustache, and it was commonly practiced before the revolution. But payoffs then were usually a one-time thing of a known amount. 2 decades after the revolution, even the smallest service called for bribes to several different parties. Emigration journalists report complaints that, these days, if a student is lucky enough to study in the West, he will rarely come home. There are so few good jobs that everyone, from students to middle-aged engineers, is looking for a way out. An estimated 2 to 4 million entrepreneurs, professionals, technicians, and skilled craftspeople emigrated to other countries following the revolution, and continue to do so at a rate of more than 150,000 a year. This flight of intellectual capital is estimated to come to almost $6 billion a year in growth opportunities. based on the average Iranian professional contributing $40,000 per year to gross capital formation. Emigration from Iran, starting with young males fleeing from the Iran-Iraq war draft, is thought by some to be the feature of the Islamic Republic most resented by Iranians. According to Shirinebadi, if you ask most Iranians what kineh, what grievance, they nurture most bitterly against the Islamic Republic, it is the tearing apart of their families. Had the revolutionaries tempered their wild radicalism, had they not replaced the Shah with a regime that prompted mass flight, their families would still be whole society. While the revolution brought about some re-Islamization of Iran, particularly in terms of personal appearance, beards, hijab, it has not prompted a reversal of some modernizing trends or a return to traditional patterns of family life. Despite the lowering of the legal age of marriage for women fell to 9, and the Ayatollah Khomeini's support for early marriage for females, it is recommended that one hurries in giving husband to a daughter who has attained puberty, meaning that she is of the age of religious accountability. His Holiness, Sadegh, the sixth Imam, salutations to him, bade that it is one of a man's good fortunes that his daughter does not see menses in his own house. The actual average age of marriage for women rose to 22 by 1996. Thus the age difference between husbands and wives in Iran actually fell between 1980 and 2000, from 7 to 2.1 years. Nor has Islamization of family law led to an increase in the number of polygamous families or more frequent divorces. Polygamy has remained at about 2% of permanent marriages during the past 40 years, and the divorce rate has decreased slightly since the 1970s. Population growth was encouraged for the first 9 years of the revolution, but in 1988 youth unemployment concerns prompted the government to do an amazing U-turn, and Iran now has one of the world's most effective family planning programs. After the Iranian Revolution, Iranian women have continued to occupy high positions in the political system. In late 1990s, Iranians sent more women to Iranian parliament than Americans sent to U.S. Senate. Garbzadagi, or Western cultural influence, stubbornly remains, entering via music recordings, videos, and satellite dishes. Despite government efforts, compulsory hijab for women has been given extensive police enforcement. Shorts, necklaces, glamorous hairstyles, and neckties are forbidden for men. Western music is banned even more thoroughly, but observers note it is nonetheless popular and widespread. One post-revolutionary opinion poll found 61% of students in Tehran chose Western artists as their role models, with only 17% choosing Iran's officials. Human rights in the first 5 years of the Islamic Republic. During its consolidation, approximately 8,000 political opponents were executed. Thousands of political prisoners were also executed in 1988. Like other revolutions before it, the Iranian Revolution took a higher toll on those who had participated in the revolution than those in the regime it overthrew. In recent years, the killing of dissidents has been much less frequent, and reported abuses are more likely to include harsh penalties for crimes, punishment of fornication, homosexuality, apostasy, poor hijab, restrictions on freedom of speech and the press, including the imprisonment of journalists, unequal treatment according to religion and gender, torture to extract repudiations by prisoners of their cause and comrades on video for propaganda purposes, and allowing prisoners to die by withholding medical treatment. Religion. Iran is governed by Sharia law. It is one of the few Muslim countries where hijab for women is required by law. At the same time, it has the lowest mosque attendance of any Islamic country, according to Zora Soleimana of the BBC. Iranian clergy have complained that more than 70% of the population do not perform their daily prayers, and that less than 2% attend Friday mosques. For religious minorities, life has been mixed under the Islamic Republic. Khomeini also called for unity between Sunni and Shia Muslims. Pre-revolutionary statements by Khomeini were antagonistic towards Jews, but shortly after his return from exile in 1979, he issued a fatwa ordering that Jews and other minorities be treated well. Non-Muslim religious minorities do not have equal rights in the Islamic Republic, but 4 of the 270 seats in parliament are reserved for 3 non-Islamic minority religions. The 300,000 members of the Baha'i faith are actively harassed, some 200 of whom have been executed and the rest forced to convert or subjected to the most horrendous disabilities. Starting in late 1979, the new government systematically targeted the leadership of the Baha'i community by focusing on the Baha'i leadership. Natural disasters and earthquakes centered on Bam in Shah, Iran, killed more than 26,000 people in December 2003. A major earthquake hit Iran on June 21, 1990, killing nearly 40,000 people. Scientific development. Iran's scientific progress is subject to many problems, including funding, international sanctions and management. However, in some areas such as medicine, surgery, pharmacology, stem cell research and theoretical physics, Iranian scientists have found international reputation since the Iranian Revolution. Nuclear technology and stem cell research were the 2 fields that have enjoyed special support from the central government and Iranian leadership since the revolution. In 2005, Iran's national science budget was less than $1 billion and had not been subject to any significant increase since 15 years ago. But according to science metrics, since 1990 Iran's scientific production has had a rapid build-up, and Iran currently has the fastest growth rate in science and technology worldwide. Iran is among the international leaders of stem cell technology and was the 10th country to produce embryonic human stem cells. Although in terms of articles per capita basis, it reportedly ranked 16th in the world.